providing shelter. That doesn't mean you have to come up and construct some big, huge awning or something like that. There's various types of shelter. Obviously, you can see on the right, a brush pile counts as a shelter. And of course, depending on what species you're gearing to, on the other side, we've got bird boxes. Like I said, it depends on what species you're targeting, and then you determine what type of shelter you might want to create for that species. Having several brush piles around would be very beneficial.
Certain birds use cavities for nesting, like bluebirds, wood ducks, chickadees, screech owls also. Of course, you have to put those up a lot higher, so you got to have ability to get up pretty high. But I've seen people build them, put them up in the trees, and you've got to also be able to maintain them, year after year, but cleaning out and stuff like that. So, again, you got to think about what species you're wanting to promote and go from there.
And we're not just talking about endangered species. I had a property owner contact me about.
We're not talking about endangered species at all.
No, I know. That's why I mentioned, because they were talking about the red-headed woodpecker.
Red cockaded.
There you go, that one. And so that's a whole lot different and more intense operation, and I think more information has to be documented on that. So if you have one of those presents, I would definitely recommend you talk to these guys.
And that's what I was about to touch on. That's been one big question, is how many brush piles per acre, how many, and there's no set guideline for that. And it all depends on the property. It all depends on the habitat that you already have. If you have a completely wooded timber stand, bluebird boxes are not going to do any good. That species requires some open pasture, some open land. If you have 1 acre opening, you may only need one bluebird box. So they do compete. They're competitive. They're during mating season. They fight. You don't want them too close. Same thing with wood duck boxes. You don't want them too close. You get hens that lay eggs in all the nests, and before you know it, you have a box with 50 eggs in it and no hens sitting on them. So you don't want them that close. You want them, and there's different guidelines. Ducks Unlimited, you can look up wood duck boxes, and they give you some recommendations. I can give you recommendations. But basically, if you have a 10-acre pasture, you may be able to put up 5, 6, 10 bluebird boxes. If you have a 1-acre opening, you may only be able to do 1. So it just depends on your habitat and your property. So there's no real set guidelines on that.
Now, is it the wood duck boxes that y'all were saying, one wood duck box can be built from one dog-eared fence plank or a bluebird box? Okay.
$1.89, 6 foot long. Fence slat.
Yeah.
Less than $2, and a few nails, and just have a few tools. You can make a bluebird box.
Just out of that fence plank.
Just out of that one fence board, 1x6, and real simple. Wood duck's going to be a little bit larger than that, like using a 1x10 or 1x12 to do that. But there's guidelines on the internet for building either one.
It's a great grandkid project,
Yeah,
or great kid project.
Yeah, there's some bluebird or birding organizations, Audubon, things like that. They'll have that on their websites also.
And it might be beneficial for you to join those organizations just so you have a network of property owners that you can consult with. It just might be beneficial for you and your operation. Census counts to determine the population. And yes, these pictures were taken from local properties, and I cannot give you the address.
And those are generally going to be for deer, people that are hunting deer on their property, managing the deer. There are some other things you can do for other species for counts, but primarily we're talking about deer though.
And the census counts, the census counts are probably, I would say, probably one of the least used activities statewide in wildlife, because that's for somebody that is definitely, they are crazy, about wildlife production and promoting wildlife, and man, they just really dig into it. So census counts aren't something that most people will do.
I will say on the census counts, these are properties that want to hunt on the property. They just want to make sure that they're not culling out too many off of the property. They want to make sure that they keep a decent population on the property. So they're going to try to keep track of what's on their property so they don't.
Yeah, but what if you don't allow hunting?
Well, that's one thing.
That's
I mean,
fine.
you can still do a count to determine the population, and that's something I can help you with. We have a protocol for camera surveys, and you don't have to count it. What it does, it helps you determine the sex ratio, estimated population, the deer density. So that's just a good, good knowledge to have, and I can help you manage those species, and that's important. Same thing with the timber. Too many deer can create a disease, can cause malnutrition. So it's kind of important to manage that if you do have too many. On the census counts too, I mean, if you're not into deer, you don't want deer. There's through the Audubon Society, there's ways to do a backyard bird count, and it's an official bird count. People can do it. Look at the Master Naturalist program. There's people where you can get more information on doing an official count for these species. So there's more than just deer. There's more other species if you're not into deer and all that. But there's several different survey methods that you can do.
Don't misunderstand what he said about a backyard bird count. No, I'm not going to give you wildlife on your backyard. Just, I want to make that clear now.
To qualify for wildlife, per state law, the property must be actively devoted to the propagation of sustained breeding, migrating, or wintering population of indigenous wild animals for human use, including food, medicine, or recreation. This means that all the efforts you undertake must complement, encourage, and assist wildlife animals that are native to our area or that pass through our area naturally. By state law, the primary use of the property must be wildlife. If the primary use of the property is for commercial or residential use, it will not qualify. Applying for wildlife, you must apply for wildlife use to this district. The application must be accompanied by a written wildlife management plan. The plan can be the Texas Parks and Wildlife Form, that's the PWD-885, or a written plan that includes all the pertinent data contained in the PWD-885 publication. It must be completed and signed. If the plan is written and completed by the landowner, only the landowner's signature is required. However, if the plan is prepared by a wildlife professional or consultant for a fee, the plan must be signed by the landowner and the paid consultant.
And
That's
just
not-
to clarify.
Yeah, that's not going to be the plan that Daniel might help you with. We're talking a paid consultant.
He is just going to give you guidance. He's not going to do the plan for you. That's on
my,
you.
My responsibility is, for the county, and that's one thing we failed to mention. I cover Cherokee County. I'm the wildlife biologist for Cherokee County office in Rusk. You'll be calling me if you need more information. Unlike Jason, he writes the plan for you. I will not write the plan for you. It's something that we want the landowner to write, and you guys complete that. I can give you all the guidance in the world, all the recommendations in the world, but I will not write that for you. Just like the consultants for timber, there are consultants that do write these plans for people. So there are people out there. There are very few here. It's more common out west around Austin, San Antonio, those areas. But there are people that do that for a living, come out and help you with your Prop 11 stuff. So.
Daniel's not trying to be mean by saying he won't do it for you. It's just that he's one person covering 4 counties. Three counties. And Jason, how many guys you got in there that can write plans in your office in 3 counties?
Got 6 guys. Really,
Including you?
2 other guys that can write plans. I've got a lot of people.
So he's got quite a few people. We don't have that many. So Daniel's not being mean. So
And these
didn't want y'all to think
management
that.
plans, whether they're timber or wildlife, there's templates. It's not like you're going to take a blank sheet of paper and start writing, okay? There's TFS they can provide help. We also have, and I think all of you have a copy of the timber management plan that we wrote that you can fill in the blanks. The management plan for parks and wildlife that she's referenced here, that will walk you through the process. It's kind of fill in the blank and short answer, so to speak. So it's not like you're going to have to take a blank sheet of paper and write a novel, okay?
Do you need assistance? And do you have questions? We are here to help. This is our office number here. If you did get the copy of the slides, this should be on the very back page. Just turn it over. It's all that information right there. I'm also going to go to a slide in a minute that's going to give you Daniel's information, which was not included on here, but
Bye.